Rising actress and writer Qunita Brunson recently won the Emmy for her show Abbott Elementary for outstanding writing in a TV series. This show focuses on a group of teachers trying to navigate their way through an inner city school as they go through the ups and downs of being a teacher. This show has a lot of jokes, lighthearted, and it's mockumentary style in the same way as Parks and Rec and The Office. But what if I were to tell you that the show is actually the revival of the Black Sitcom?
I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't have done that. That's not. I'm like, watch it. I'm like, I was so jealous because I was like, this is a good show, and it's hard to do that on network television.
Very hard.
That's what I'm saying. That's hard to do. Doing it on a big stage like that and not pulling punches and understanding yourself enough to get it through. That's really hard.
Back in the 80s and 90s, the format of the Black sitcom is a lot different than what it looks like now. Shows like Bill Cosby Show, even shows like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Martin, these were shows that focus on more a storytelling narrative and less about the skin color or the environment that the characters were coming up in. You could actually consider that these shows were the Renaissance era of black comedy sitcoms. Shows like The Jamie Foxx Show took situations and made them the forefront of the comedy and was never about the color of the skin or the environment they lived in. Over time, these shows grew in popularity, and to this day, many people go back to relive these shows in the 90s through DVDs or watching them on YouTube or wherever you consume your media. Shows like Living Single actually wrote the blueprint for the white sitcom in the 2000s, focusing on a group of friends trying to navigate the streets of New York, and you see the ups and downs of relationships and friendships. Living Single wrote the blueprint for that. Shows like Big Bang Theory, How I Met Your Mother, and Friends capitalize off that format. Eventually, the shows of the 90s dwindled in popularity and got canceled or moved on. In the 2000s, we saw the rise of UPN and WB. Shows like Girlfriends and Moesha dominated the airways and still didn't really necessarily focus on the blackness of their skin or the environment that they lived in, but rather the situational comedy that these characters would find themselves in. These shows were pretty popular throughout the early 2000s, but UPN was actually kind of coined as underpaid Negroes by a lot of black people out there because of the fact that these shows, while great, were not really getting a lot of attention in the mainstream environment. And over time, as their budget went down, the quality of the shows also went down considerably.
UPN, underpaid Negroes.
This would lead to a lot of the shows either being canceled or sold to the CW, where they were just basically left to die. And this would basically end that era. In the teens to the 2000s, we started to see a rise of what I like to call black pain media. Shows like Empire, Power, even shows like Blackish. Now all of a sudden, the color of the skin and the environment these characters came up in were very important and critical to the storytelling engine. Depending on who you ask, these are stories that needed to be told, stories of hood dramas, murder, scandal, drug dealing, etc. so forth, but also stories involving the N-word, racial interactions, and inclusion and bias in the workplace. These shows use black pain and black situations as the main engine for their storytelling. And depending on who you ask, these storytellings may actually be detrimental to the overall growth of black people in Hollywood and in the media. While these shows are still popular, you could actually argue that these shows are definitely dwindling in popularity. Even the show like Empire is not even on the air anymore, and Power, while it has many spin-offs, isn't as popular as it was when it first came out.
Sitting back, reminiscing of how I used to get down and dirty with you.
This brings us to now. The reason why a show like Qunita Brunson's Abbott Elementary is so important is because all of a sudden we are now seeing black situational comedy without blackness or the environment being the main forefront of the story. And yes, this story does take place in the inner city school in the hood, but that's not the main crutch of the story. The story is about the character development, the reactions, the if they, will they or won't they storylines that are similar to The Office or Parks and Rec. These mockumentary style shows are some of the most popular shows of our time. And honestly, there wasn't a black version of this show until Abbott Elementary. This is the first time that we're seeing a mainstream situational mockumentary in a heartfelt, wholesome manner on mainstream TV in damn near 20 years. This show is extremely important, whether you like it or not.
Friend here at Abbott. I took it upon myself to drive 2 hours to Baltimore to get you your favorite pizza from Say Cheese. Aww.
That's crazy.
I even asked the pizza.
And Qunita Brunson is basically carving the path for the next generation of writers to open up the doors to create more wholesome stories and not necessarily stories that are derived from black pain or environmental-based storytelling. It's a beautiful situation to see, and I'm very excited to see what this means for black media and black writers looking to get inside Hollywood. It's not necessarily telling your story about being in the hood, even though that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes you could just tell a story just to tell a story. Abbott Elementary is a perfect example of a template for black writers to tell their stories in ways that are genuine and pure without relying on the usual narratives of black pain and black trauma in order to attract audiences.
I've got like 4 or 5 things that I actually like, and I just stick to those.
Hopefully, many people will follow Qunita Brunson's footsteps and continue to write stories of this nature. I would love to see more and more heartfelt, wholesome stories on mainstream black TV that I can watch with my family. Because I can't necessarily watch Power or Empire with my kid. If so, I have a lot of explaining to do in terms of what's actually going on. And some of these conversations are conversations I'm not necessarily trying to have. Sometimes I'm just trying to eat dinner and watch something to laugh to. And Abbott Elementary does that and has characters that look like me, which is awesome. All in all, I think Abbott Elementary is must-watch television for any black family looking to see role models in positions of power or positions of creativity. If you haven't checked out the show, please do. And then come back here and let me know what you think about it in the comment section. If you made it this far, that means that you liked the video and you might like my page. So do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. That inspires me to keep making content. We're still working towards that 1,000 subscribers, and there might be a Spider-Man pitch around there somewhere, maybe, I don't know. But I do appreciate everybody who's watching, and if there's some video ideas that you want me to cover, please let me know in the comment section. We can talk about it. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you soon. Peace.